Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dailey Blend podcast. If you are new around here, this is the Friday Top 5 segment of the show where we feature 5 things that I thought were interesting, notable, or culturally significant. This week we are showcasing stories on Tip Top Cocktails. You might remember them from a few episodes back where we interviewed their 2 founders. And we're talking about how they are changing the go-to cocktail game. Next, we're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart, DJing, and talk about Traktor DJing, who just turned 20. We're going to see how Jeff Bridges is continuing to really hit the cinematic spectrum or TV spectrum, I don't know how you want to call that, with a new show. We're going to talk about Gary Vee and his Empathy Wines and their 2021 Meerkat Muscat, wine. And, we're going to round out the show by talking about DJing yet again and talking about some really cool metadata management across platforms. As always, you can get this episode and all other previous episodes on such great podcast platforms as Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher Radio. We post it to YouTube. Also, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe Dailey Blend on Instagram and Twitter. And with all that said, let's jump into the show. So the first story we're going to jump into is talking about Tip Top Cocktails. And if you heard me in the intro, I mentioned that we had the 2 co-founders on the show a couple years back, actually now. It was really interesting because they were just starting their brand, and the industry as a whole was having a hard time with aluminum and getting cans to market. I can't actually remember if it impacted them, but they were growing and expanding, and they've gotten distribution rights here in the state of Illinois where I live. And I walked into my local retailer. This was Sunset Foods, and they have a nice little liquor section. And I saw the Tip Top cocktails and got pretty excited. So I got to try them for the first time about, a month ago. And so I headed over to their website, and I noticed that they were doing some really cool stuff where they were putting together these summer essential packs. And so the 8-pack, as a quote from their website, will keep things cool when the weather is warm. And in this pack, you get 2 margaritas, 2 bee's knees, which I actually didn't know what that was. It's gin, lemon, and honey, 2 daiquiris, and of course, 2 Negronis. So if you go to daileyblend.com, you can find links to their Instagram, their summer pack that I just mentioned, obviously their website, and they've got a nice little bit of merch. If you go back and listen to the Dailey Blend podcast sound off show with them, you'll learn that one of the founders actually was involved with the Governor's Ball in New York. And so you can see that, they're pretty smart to put out, merch, almost like a band would. But really excited for these guys, continued success with their cocktails, and go check them out. They're perfect. I believe if you are flying Delta, you can purchase those from what I've been told from friends, but I cannot confirm nor deny that because I just haven't flown Delta in a while. So the second story is talking about Traktor DJ software. So if you are less of a computer geek or music software kind of geek like I am, let me give you the rundown. About 20 years ago, or I guess a little more than that, there was a product that came out with a company called Final Scratch with a guy named Richie Houghton. He's a techno DJ. And I've listened to this interview where Richie talks about the fact that he released the product and has never had so many people that were friends with him in the record industry not want to talk to them because they sort of saw the writing on the wall with the fact that you could have MP3s sitting in a computer, and then through this control vinyl and like hardware piece, you could actually manipulate the MP3 just like in real time. So the need to carry like massive crates of records or even CDs at the time was quickly becoming somewhat obsolete. And I think that company morphed over time and became Native Instruments, or Native Instruments bought the code. I can't remember, but Final Scratch was the original. Anyway, you've got sort of 3 to 4 platforms that are pretty major right now. If you think about it, you've got Traktor being one from Native Instruments, Serato and their Serato DJ platform is the second, and that's kind of more hip-hop oriented. You've got Rekordbox, which is a little bit of open format and house music because of their big players. Denon DJs actually jumped on the scene in the last couple years through their Prime series, and they've got Virtual DJ. There's a couple other kind of cool sort of app platforms that you can go check out. But Traktor's the one that I use probably the most, even though I've got some record gear, Rekordbox and Serato gear. But Traktor just seems to be the most consistent for me with tech house and kind of anything with a 4/4 beat. And they've got great hardware that goes with the equipment. It's simple, it's easy to use. Most of it was originally designed by DJ Tech Tool founder Ian Golden. Obviously, he hasn't been with that company for a long time, but you can sort of still see some of the design language in some of their pieces. Anyway, they are on version number 3 of their software product, and it works flawlessly. They have a nice mobile app that works really nicely with Beatport Link, which is a streaming platform with Beatport. I think it also works with SoundCloud. And they've got a couple new controllers that are for their 20-year anniversary that have got kind of like a white look or a purple look. Ones that I recommend checking out are the Control X1 Ultraviolent. I also really like the look of the Control S4 Ultraviolent. They obviously have everything in this white and purple color. You can, of course, just get the regular ones. I just thought the limited edition ones were pretty cool. One of the other things that I've noticed more so with Native Instruments than anything is in the secondary market, the price drops pretty significantly. So over at Guitar Center, for example, I was looking for a battle mixer for Rekordbox for Traktor, and I had not really paid that much attention, but they have a Z2 for like $320, and they've got a Control S3 which retails for $550, and they've got that for like $310. So on the secondary market, there's actually like some fantastic deals. I've bought in a bunch of gear from Guitar Center in the secondary markets. Always like it. If you don't, there's like a fantastic return policy. So highly recommend checking out Native Instruments and the Traktor platform. I've been a big fan, and I think you will enjoy it as well. In the third story, we're going to talk about The Old Man, which is a new TV show on FX starring Jeff Bridges, where a former CIA officer who is living off the grid finds himself on the run from the people who want to kill him. It's based on the best-selling novel from the same name by Thomas Perry, and it's got Jeff Bridges, John Lithgow from 30 Rock from the Sun, Amy Brennan. She was the daughter in, what was that show on Netflix that was amazing? I can't remember, but the really funny one with the family. Terrible description for me. Anyway, Jeff Bridges basically was some sort of covert op living in the Middle East in his 20s, and married a woman and brought her to America that was a huge influence in that region. And it's sort of like a look back and trying to see what he did in his 20s and the influence it has on him in his, presumably 60s. He's got some really cool dogs, a love interest. It's a great story. I mean, I found myself wanting to watch all the episodes back to back. It's already been greenlit for season 2, so highly recommend checking it out on a weekend when you have a little more free time. All right, so our next story is jumping into Gary Vee and his ever-growing empire of content and cross-promotion. And, before I jump into the story, I want to maybe talk about Gary Vee a little bit. So Gary Vee was an underperformer, his words, not mine. And he was working in his family's wine store in New Jersey called the Wine Library. And this was in the early days of the, let's call it Internet 2.0. And he started a YouTube channel talking about wine reviews, and it caught on. He leveraged that to help grow his family's business, I think from roughly a 3-5 million market cap to I think 60 or 70 when I read it in his book. And now has, his own media company, VaynerMedia, and a couple other assets around kind of his content. But he started VeeFriends, which is an NFT company based on 268 characters that symbolize characteristics and traits that were created by Gary Vee. And he believes it drives happiness and business success. All VeeFriend characters were created with altercations around a key quality and an associated animal or figure through collaboration and storytelling. It is VeeFriends and Gary's ambition to empower the community and the world at large to understand, respect, and ultimately utilize VeeFriend traits and what valuable lessons they may provide in their professional and personal lives. So they're an NFT. And of all the things on the internet, I know the least about NFTs, but let's move on from there. The next part of this is where I found it really interesting. So there is the Meerkat Muscat, which was combination or collaboration with Empathy Wines, a company he started and I believe sold the majority stake to Diageo a couple years ago. And it was about building awareness. And so Gary and a team member or another person, I think maybe that started Empathy Wines, basically got on YouTube and did a live stream for roughly an hour to hype up this limited edition wine. I don't know how many cases they did, but I've never tried this sort of type of wine. And I really want to, first of all, try it just because I'm interested. But I thought it was really interesting just the approach Gary continues to take in terms of honesty and almost like, as real as you can get in terms of the live stream. I mean, he's got a basic foundation and framework, but he's just sort of jamming and talking in real time. He's got people dialing in and just building awareness. And, he usually sells out his products. So hats off to Gary and team. If you've never checked out Empathy Wines, you can buy bottles individually, and you can also do it through sort of a subscription platform, and I think that was originally how it was founded. I have not tried the Empathy Wines, but I might give them a go after this post and just taste what they're like and get a little more kind of insight into the type of wine Gary Vee is into. So our last story is going to talk about metadata and, music management. So I realize this story isn't for everyone, but if you really liked my Traktor story and you like digital DJing, you're really going to get excited about this. So there was a video by Mojax with Beatsource Tech or DJ City, however you want to think about him, but he does fantastic, YouTube videos on DJ products. And this one is a conversation I have. I jump from Serato to Traktor to Rekordbox all the time. And it's a pain because you got to continue to manage 3 different platforms with cue marks and metadata. And what that really means is where, you basically have your cue marks where you can jump through pads, or the metadata around, the type of music or categorizations you add to it. And that can be your own or kind of other people's, however you want to think about it. But, I end up adding quite a bit of metadata. I have a hard time remembering, in the digital world without seeing a lot of the artwork. It helps me just kind of remember all the tracks and kind of what goes together. It also helps me from a planning perspective. But there's a company called ATGR.NL, and it's a interactive advisory tools. Simply select your current DJ software and where you want to convert into, and the site will show you all the relevant info, including the apps you need and the virtual tutorials. So for about $20, I think it's 1950 euro, and I don't know the conversion, you can buy this tool. It's a one-time purchase, not a subscription. And it allows you to convert from all the major platforms that I mentioned before. So you've got Traktor, Serato, iTunes, that DJ app software, the Denon Instructor tool for, I'm assuming, Prime, Virtual DJ. The UI looks a little clunky, but who cares? And for $20, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It gives you back a ton of time, but he does a nice job of kind of containing some more information about each product. So hats off to, the creator of this. I'll try to reach out to you on social media, but this is really cool. And I can't wait to try it out and let you guys know what I think and how I'm using it. So that wraps up this week of the Friday Top 5. As I mentioned in the show intro, like, follow, and subscribe Dailey Blend on all major podcast platforms and Instagram and Twitter. You can like, follow, and subscribe me at Reed Dailey. That's ReedDailey on Twitter and Instagram. And with that said, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Talk soon.